This video tutorial for Flashpoint Campaign's Red Storm is in direct response to a request for assistance from Un Bibi Mas on the Punta de Lanza Spanish forum. He's asking for someone to run the tutorial in Spanish. Harpoon for Dummies tries to accommodate all requests, and Verdugo94 has kindly offered his assistance in the translation of this video into Spanish. This video will follow the general format as set forth in the Quick Start and Tutorial Guide, version 2.06 from the Player's Edition. This video is recorded and players are encouraged to run the game as the video plays side by side, and or open up the tutorial guide and read along with us. We'll be following the same steps in the table of contents. Let's start the tutorial. After the welcome screen, we arrive at the Welcome Commanders seen below. This is the main menu screen for the game, and it is here that you can play the game, go into the editors, set the preferences, or exit back to your desktop. We will be setting the game up to play the tutorial scenario as the NATO player for this quick start. 2.1 Main Menu. In the main menu frame, click the Scenario or Campaign button to start the scenario selection process. Starting a new game. Select Single Scenario. Select Computer Opponent, since we wish to fight the game Artificial Intelligence. Select Player 1 NATO Commander. The tutorial is written from the NATO British side. You can come back later and play from the Russian side if you wish. Click the Proceed button. Selecting a scenario to play. The game should default to the Scenarios folder in the Flashpoint Red Storm module. If for some reason it is pointed to another folder, use the dialog to navigate to the module's Flashpoint Red Storm Scenarios folder. Scroll down the list of scenarios and select Tutorial Scenario. You will see two tutorial scenarios. In earlier versions, this tutorial scenario was locked by password. This is and the open one was open for editing. It does not matter which one we select. In the message box window, you can read a short summary of the scenario that is selected. Also note, in the upper right of the box, it states that this is an original game file. If the file is third-party created or a modification of one of the original files, it will say User Supplied File instead. Assuming that you have selected the tutorial scenario, click Proceed. (2.4) Gameplay Options. Uncheck 1A so that the enemy will only be seen when spotted by our units. Uncheck 1F so that we cannot get detailed information on enemy counters. This is a good starting point. We'll check the other ones. Click proceed and let's get this battle started. After you play this once with these settings, you can go back and change the others to see their effect on gameplay. Refer to the game manual for details on these other settings. 3. Pre-game information. After hitting proceed, we are presented the tabbed display we call the Tactical Operations Center, or TOC. The TOC is our tool for getting the best overview of the mission, status of our forces, and status for the mission. A quick review of the tabs here will show us the following. Scenario description. This is the same description we saw in the scenario selection screen, and here it is for us to review. The mission briefing. This tells us what your objectives are and also provides any other mission relevant information. This can be weather, intelligence reports on enemy forces, information about reinforcements or withdrawal of units, or other items deemed important by the scenario designer. The force roster. We can scroll down this listing to see what our force composition looks like and the status of the units, the training level of the troops, current morale, ammo and readiness are shown, as is the subunit status, ready versus fallen out. And we can see information on unit kills as listed here as well. This information updates as the scenario plays out. You can return here and see the overall force condition quickly. Clicking on the olive colored hyperlinks will open the subunit inspector for that particular subunit so that you can check out the equipment and weapon details. Reported kills and claims. This is a matrix of your units and a breakdown of the types of kills they have made on the battlefield. You can also see how many of your own units are fallen out or destroyed. This updates as the fight progresses. You can use this to track the number and types of enemies killed during the fight and use that information to determine what type of force you are fighting. The Staff Summary Report. This is the most important tab in the Tactical Operations Center. Here you can see the current state of forces, a listing of what units are still active, and the all-important victory conditions. During the fighting, you can check this screen to see how well or poorly the battle is going. At the end of the battle, for the enemy forces will also be the information for the enemy forces will also be displayed here. There is an option to see the enemy's Tactical Operations Center that will appear at the bottom left of the TOC screens. You can see their mission and remaining forces like you view yours. But this will not be available until the end of the game. When you are done reviewing all the information, hit Proceed to start the battle. Before we see the whole map, we are presented with a radio traffic dialogue telling us some important information about our units and markers on the map. We are told a summary of our assets, the number and type of any engineering objects, mines, or obstacles on the map, and or any pre-plotted artillery markers on the map. And we are reminded that we can resubordinate units by dragging and dropping their names in the order of battle tree. Hit Proceed to continue or wait until the dialogue closes on its own. Now, examining the map. Depending on your screen size, you will see your main force and a good portion of the map. The map is the On Target Simulations standard map, and the map markers are custom art and are loaded automatically from the custom folders of the game if present. Take a few seconds and review the weather and visibility information in the upper right or left if you've changed the settings of the screen. In our fight, we see that it is dawn. At dawn and dusk, thermal sighting equipment is not as effective due to thermal inversion effects. So, until we hit day, we should not count on our imagery equipment to help us out much. Our next problem is fog. This is another factor that hampers both thermal and normal vision. We can see that our spotting range is 25 or 2,000 meters, or 5 hexes for most units. 4 hexes for most units. This 2,000 meter value differs from the value found in the quick start guide simply because we started the scenario and it's randomly, there's a little bit of randomization. Our reconnaissance unit can see further, but we will circle back to it later. To see a bit more of the map, go to the zoom level buttons at the bottom left of the screen and hit the minus sign once or twice to zoom out until you see both your forces and the objective area. Or zoom in and out with the mouse wheel if you have one. Reviewing the terrain. Looking at the map, we see that the approach to the city, our mission objective, is pretty much downhill. And there are hills with trees on either side. To add to the bad news, the Soviet side of the river has good cover as well. On the positive side, we do have a minefield and road obstruction along the primary travel paths of the Soviets. We also have one artillery target reference point, or TRP. It is the blue plus sign marker southeast of the minefield. The TRP is a good place if the Soviets come up the road and get bogged down in the minefield. We may be able to hit the resulting traffic jam with artillery fire to pin them and degrade their force. Getting eyes out front. We are currently sitting in our blue, it may look purple on some screens, setup zone. You can click and drag units anywhere in this zone during the setup phase of the game. In our case, we are okay as deployed. Now, we need to get our forces on the move and get eyes on the objective and, more importantly, the enemy. As noted above, we have to be careful with it being dawn. Our thermal sights on a number of our units will be next to useless during the thermal inversion of temperatures and the morning fog. We need about an hour for surface temperatures to heat up and the fog to burn off for targets to show well in the sights. Right-click on the first reconnaissance unit and select Show, then LOS area. We right-click, show LOS area. We can also use Control plus L. This will display the visible hexes our selected unit can see from its current location. As you can see, visibility is very limited here with the trees and hills. Hit Control L to hide the line of sight overlay. You can also toggle this line of sight display on and off using the L button just to the right of the map zoom controls. Once the LOS tool is active, you can check empty hexes by Shift plus left clicking on an empty area of a hex. Shift, click. This line of sight will only be based on the current game visibility and not any special abilities of any unit. So Shift and clicking on this hex will show what if this unit was here. These are the hexes that this unit would be able to see. Right-click on the unit again and select Deliberate Move. Select the 3 waypoints into the city as shown in the diagram. And to have our reconnaissance finish up its move on the hill about a kilometer southwest of the city. Click back on the unit to issue the order. You are presented with the Orders on Arrival dialog screen. Select Hold to have our unit dig in and do its best not to be seen, and to hold its ground so that it can spot for our force. You should now see the movement path the unit will take. In this case, it is moving down the valley and is shielded from sight by the hills until it reaches the hill we want it on. Take a moment and check the line of sight from the hill using the line of sight toggle and the shift plus left click. We appear to be able to see into both enemy approaches, the city, and a good distance south of the map. Getting anti-tank and air defense assets in place. First, we need to locate the first anti-tank squad. You can go to the Order of Battle tab just under the weather image and find it in the list and click on it. The first anti-tank. Hover the mouse cursor over the stack of units seen in the image below until the flyout panel pops up. Once the flyout panel is open, move the mouse cursor onto the first anti-tank unit and left click to select it. First anti-tank will now have a thick yellow outline on the counter. Right-click on first anti-tank to open the pop-up orders menu. Select Deliberate Move from the list. Select the 3 hexes shown below with the last point in the hex with the blue fortification, the circle with the outward spikes. Click back on the first anti-tank unit, or here, to set the path and get the Orders on Arrival dialog. Select Hold from the dialog to have them dig in when they arrive. Next, we need to do for the first anti-aircraft unit. Because of the poor weather and visibility, we may want to think about moving the first anti-aircraft unit into town to better cover our mechanized assets. Select the unit and give it a deliberate move order with 3 waypoints as seen below, ending in the city. After you click back on the first air defense unit, the infantry vehicle utilization window appears. This unit has 2 Spartan armored personnel carriers and 2 Javelin teams. These are passengers. And you will be asked to disembark from vehicles at a range from objective. We'll leave it at the default 1. Hit proceed. After you click back on the first air defense unit, select Screen for the order in the city. This will have the unit hang in the city, but displace if threatened by ground forces. In the unit display panel, you can see the waypoints and arrival times along with the screen order at the end. The UDP panel is helpful in seeing many parameters of a selected unit. Along with its movement and orders, it will say when transported units will disembark, when the unit will act next, the unit's posture, covered, exposed, etc., readiness, ammo percentage, morale percentage, range to the headquarters, standoff range, the trigger for the unit to move, and other information depending on unit type. Check it often. Screen the advance with armor. Now we need to move our tanks and use them to screen our forces from possible enemy units popping up on the other side of the river. In this scenario, we have a squadron of Challenger 1 tanks. We are going to select the entire squadron and move them into position. While depressing the Alt key, click on the Squadron HQ, First Armored Unit, to select it. And any unit reporting to it. The SHQ will have a thick yellow border, and the 4 tank platoons will have a thin yellow border on them, indicating they are selected. You can also multi-select units by holding down the Shift key and clicking on the unit you want to issue a group order. Note, if limited orders are being used, you cannot issue a group order to multi-selected units. Right-click on the Squadron HQ or SHQ or any of the selected units and issue a Move Deliberate Order. Plot a move to the fields just northeast of the fortification. and click back on any of the selected units to set the order and to get the orders on arrival dialog. Click on hold to have all the units dig in and defend. You should also at this point click on any of the tank units and review the path it is taking. It is a good idea to adjust the last waypoint to a new location to spread the units around. And to place headquarters further back from the estimated threat. You can actually move any or all of the waypoints if you need to avoid a traffic jam. Hit the A button in the lower left-hand corner of the status bar to see all friendly movement paths. This will help when spreading out your forces. Control taking the objective with infantry. Mechanized infantry is great for taking and holding objectives, especially in a city or forest where cover is high. Now, let's move our infantry in an assault to take the objective area. Click on the Order of Battle tab and scroll down until you see the Company Headquarters 1st Infantry. While holding down the Alt key, click on the Company Headquarters 1st Infantry name in the Order of Battle tree. This will select the company headquarters for the 1st Infantry, the 3 infantry platoons, and the mortar section of the 1st Infantry on the map. Right-click on one of the units and select Move Deliberate from the list. Plot the 2 movement points as shown by the diagram. Click back on one of the units to set the order and also pop up the disembark dialog. Set the hex range to disembark to 0 and click the Proceed button. Set the end of move order to screen. It's important now there is a bug in this function. Select 2 of the infantry platoons and move the final waypoint south of the intersection to spread the force out. Note, even though the company headquarters will disembark on the objective range of 0, if we examine the other units, they will still disembark at the default range of 1. They did not accept the zero chain, the order to disembark at zero range. They are going with the last known or the last previous default order. This, I believe, is a bug and has been reported to the developers and ignored. Once the force is on the move and close to waypoint number 2, we will order the assault on the city to capture and hold the victory point locations. 4.7. Staying in command and control. It is not a good idea to get your units out of command range, since orders take longer to process and recovery actions are degraded if your forces are too far from their headquarters or local headquarters to the main headquarters. In the tabbed notebook, select Order of Battle tab. At the top of the list is the High HQ for the force. Click on the RHQ first unit in the listing to highlight it on the map. You can use the Order of Battle tree to locate units on the map or to attach units to different headquarters by clicking on them and doing a drag and drop to the headquarters you want them to join. Right-click on the RHQ1 on the map. Select Show. Select Command Radius. You can toggle the command radius on or off using the Control D button, or the D button in the status bar, or by using the Control shortcut Control plus D. You will see the effective command range of this headquarters unit. Notice that it falls short of the objective area. To fix this problem, order the headquarters to move deliberate to the town of Stettin. Set disembark to 0 and set the arrival order to screen. The town will provide good cover and also give the headquarters unit reach beyond the objective area. Hit Control D to turn, or the D button to turn off the command range. Locating artillery for mission support. The last move to make is to move the artillery units into range to cover the objective and beyond a few kilometers. Select First Mortar on the map, or use the OB tab to select the unit. Right-click and select Show. Maximum fire area. The large colored hexes are the reach of the artillery unit. In this case, it falls about 2 kilometers short of covering the objective and 4 kilometers from the target recognition point, reference point. The smaller circle is the limit of an anti-air capable weapon, a machine gun in this case. Hit Control F to turn off the range. Select First Mortar and give the unit a Move Hasty order and plot them south between the trees and into the fields just south of Stettin. Set order on arrival to on call so that they are ready to accept fire missions when requested. Look before we leap into action. Before we start the command cycle resolution, it is a good idea to check the R and W tab in the notebook to see when new units will show and others may leave. This is reinforcements and withdrawals. First Armor is going to get 2 platoons of M109 artillery. That will be off map 40 minutes into the battle. About an hour into the fight, you will get an attack helicopter section coming on the map edge west of Stettin. Two hours into the battle, a Tornado close air support aircraft will be on station to provide a boost in firepower. Three hours into the fight, the helicopters will leave the area. To check out subunits in more detail, click on the Subunits tab at the bottom left of the screen. The panel will show the subunit composition of the currently selected unit on the map or selected in the OB tab for off-map and reinforcements or withdrawals. To get further information on a particular subunit, all you need to do is double-click on one of the images in the Subunits panel, or hit the F6 key. This will bring up the Subunit Inspector dialog. All of the details of the subunit can be quickly seen, including weapons, sensors, and special abilities. A quick review of the C3 tab will show you how long in minutes it will be before the next chance to issue orders. In this case, the estimate is 16 minutes. You are now ready to go to war. Good luck! 5. Resolving the command cycles. Now we get to sit back and watch the action unfold as the AI commanders do their best to fulfill your orders. Click on the Start button. As the events occur, watch to see where your forces are going, what they spot, and if any of them come under fire. Most plans made before a battle rarely survive first contact. If your ability to react and plan ahead for surprises, that will keep you in the fight. The tutorial scenario is not a balanced scenario. It was designed to include all types of units to show the various abilities of those units and how to control them in the game. The rest of the Red Storm scenarios are well designed and will be a challenge to players of all levels. Action in the first turn, 0500. The first 60 minutes passed by in rather uneventful fashion. That won't last forever, unfortunately. At the end of this turn, we are still at dawn, and fog is still well, I guess not. It's cleared. Looking at the player tab in the notebook, we see that the next turn is about 18 minutes. Command times will change in this game as units get tired or are lost to enemy action. The goal is to stay ahead of your enemy if you can. Taking a look at the first reconnaissance unit, should have moved a fair amount down the road, and all of the other units should be in motion. We have no spotted enemies at the moment, and the line of sight is approximately 4.5 kilometers for our reconnaissance and thermal equipped units. After reviewing the situation, press start to play the next 18 minutes. Action in the second turn, 0516. .34 minutes into the scenario, and still no contact with Soviet forces as the first reconnaissance unit arrives at its objective area and digs in. Units of 1st Armor also at their objective and digging in as well. 1st Mortar is at its final waypoint and has switched to on-call mode, so it can be ready to fire if targets appear. The rest of the battle group continues to make its way to their final plotted waypoint locations. At the end of this upcoming turn, our infantry units should be in position to be ordered to assault the city objectives. As our tanks moved into position, they spotted a Soviet obstacle on the other side of the river. Looking at the units, you should notice that there are small black and red triangles. These indicate both the direction the unit is traveling and also the mode of travel. Black is if the unit is in road march. This is the fastest of the travel modes via the move hasty order. Red denotes a combat movement. Slower, but spread out and using terrain to mask the approach. With any luck, the enemy should be sighted toward the end of the next turn. Take a moment to toggle the line of sight and click on your first reconnaissance and first tank units. This will show their coverage of the battlefield. Hit the start button to continue. Action in the third turn, or O534. Like most battles, we go from waiting to all hell breaking loose in a matter of minutes. From the forested path to the east, our tank company spotted and promptly killed a Soviet reconnaissance unit. A few minutes later, we are greeted by a Soviet tank company and a massive firefight ensues. Tanks from 1st Tank Company and the strikers from the AT, 1st Anti-Tank, opened up and killed a number of Soviet tanks. We may incur losses at this point, but it's all a matter of probability. Losses and kills will vary depending on the number of factors that may be in play may be different in this video than what your walkthrough may show. take a moment to review the Tactical Ops Center diary. At the bottom of the screen, we see that our forces mixed it up with the Soviet T-80B1s. The report also shows, in many cases, the tanks were engaged and killed. The fog of war is such that in some cases you may not fully identify the targets. In this battle, the reconnaissance forces were unidentified in type when killed, and the tanks went from tank to T-80s if they were fully identified by our forces. During the turn, our off-map artillery showed up and got into the fight by bombarding the tanks as they crossed the obstacle in the woods. Hit the F2 key to bring up the Tactical Operations Center and click on the force roster and review the opening engagement. You can see what losses each unit has suffered and also what specific enemy types they claim to have destroyed. Hit the Reported Kills and Claim tab next. In this table, you can see a listing of all your units and the breakdown of the types of units claimed as knocked out. All units are total here, as well as both for each unit and all enemy unit types. There is also a listing for each of your units that show the number of active runners, fallen out runner, and destroyed runners. Click on Proceed to close the Tactical Operations Center and go back to the map. (5.4) Setting the 1st Infantry to assault the objective area. With the battle joined, we need to move the infantry to the objective and set the artillery to hit those tanks popping out of the woods to suppress and even knock out a few of them. Click on the OB tab in the notebook. Hold down the Alt key and click on Company Headquarters, 1st Infantry to group select all of the 1st Infantry force. Right-click on the units on the map and select Move Hasty to mask our Move Hasty and plot the 3 waypoints as shown to mask our fast approach to the city with the hills. Click back on any unit to set the move order, and the pop-up Orders on Arrival dialog appears. Select Hold. Notice that doing a hasty movement did not give us an option to disembark at a distance. Our troops will jump out once they get to their objectives. Take a moment and spread the infantry units into each hex of the objective. I'll use Control V to turn off the victory point markers so that the final paths of the units can be seen. I'll also hit F5 and went into the Set Game, Player, and Unit Defaults and turn unit path to a different color to better show on the map. There are many options here to help you set colors and options for the game. Refer to the game manual for more information on these. 5.5. Dropping artillery on the Soviets. To hamper the Soviet effort of reaching the city, we will use our various artillery assets to bombard them and the approach. Even if we fail to get kills, the shelling will drop the readiness of the enemy as we rattle their cages. Click on the FS tab in the notebook. The first unit in the list is the 1st Infantry, which is 3 mortar units, currently in motion to support the assault on the city. We will leave them alone for now. Click on 1st Mortar in the list and select it. In the unit display panel, below the FS listing, right-click on the counter image and bring up the Orders menu. Select Barrage and Smoke Screen. Place the 3 target reference points in the city hex and fields in front of your tank force. Next, select each of the off-map artillery batteries, right-click on their unit display panel image, select Barrage, and choose Neutralizing Fire. Place 2 target reference points on the visible tank unit, or the visible unit, and drop the 3rd in the hex it is towards which it is heading. Well, it's not really in motion now. We've wiped out the tank unit. Now hit Run and continue the fight. Action in the 4th turn. 0553. The tank duel continues. The enemy is wiped out on the Hex. More enemy units are detected and engaged. The smoke was well timed because a company of BMPs and 2 tank companies popped up from the woods. The smoke is blinding the Soviet units. Since the Challenger 1s have a thermal sight, they can see through the smoke and are getting hits on the new enemy presence. 1st Infantry is on the move, but now they may be running straight into an enemy in the town. The smart move may be a change of orders to an assault, but that would take time to respond to and give the enemy more time to get units into the objective area. For now, we will press on with the hasty move. One thing looking over the force is seeing that the 1st anti-tank unit has gone low ammo and is now, well, not quite, but is in 21% ammo. "5.7. Bring in the choppers. Time to move that attack helicopter group into a good shooting position. Bring up the subunit inspector hitting F6 or right-click and select subunit inspector. We see that the Lynx carries the ITOW, anti-tank guided missile, with an almost 4-kilometer range. That is good enough to hit those tanks on the road. Zoom out the map and you can see the helicopter unit and the objective area. Right-click on the helicopter and plot a deliberate move to the hex just behind Squadron Headquarters 1st Tanks. Being on the hill should give us a good viewpoint of the battle area and hopefully keep us out of any Soviet air defense units' firing range. First Mortar is also on call right now, and dropping smoke into the town would be helpful. But looking at the unit in the unit display panel, we see that it is out of smoke ammunition, such as war. Order additional fire missions from both 1st Mortar and one of the off-map artillery missions. We'll fire the improved conventional munitions. Use the other off-map artillery unit to drop smoke on the west side of the objective. And also on the 1st anti-air unit to screen them. And hit start. Action on the 5th turn, 0611. Action is non-stop from start to finish. The Soviets lost a good number of tanks and other units. The ICM and relentless tank fire, and also some fire from the attack helicopters and elements of 1st Infantry. The improved conventional munitions take a heavy toll on the enemy. The 1st Infantry Company has moved in and occupied all the victory point locations. The smoke screens have all deployed and prevent the enemy from seeing our units. Another tank company has appeared. The first smoke screen dissipates. The dilemma is facing us now is trading invisibility for some of our units or hitting enemy locations hard. Always hard choices in war. Making some changes to the plan. Let's start making some adjustments. We need to get both armor and men into the objective area. We need to use the artillery to drop more smoke, kill the Soviet units, and hammer Soviet units in and around the city so that we can assault and hold these victory markers. At this point, the current situation is quite significantly different than the one shown in the quick start tutorial, simply because things have happened, units have been destroyed, and no longer match what was described in the quick start tutorial. We'll order the artillery to drop smoke screen to cover the advance into the town. We'll order the off-map artillery to drop more improved conventional munitions. And we're out of range. The other off-map artillery will drop neutralizing fire. The tanks will make an assault movement into town and hold their position upon the objective. Notice that the delay, these units, there is a 30-minute command delay before the units will even start to move. This is a deliberate change in the game and is not a bug. So before they will take 30 minutes to arrange themselves before they even start moving towards this hex. Hit start again. Action in the 6th turn, 0630. The improved conventional munition strike decimates the enemy tank company on the obstacle. Artillery and tank direct fire continue to take a heavy toll on the enemy tank company. A helicopter flies over the town and holds position. helicopter a Warrior armored personnel carrier. The enemy helicopter retires. Another smoke screen dissipates. The helicopters retire, out of ammo. This turn was a mixed bag of results. We generally wiped out the enemy, mostly on the barrier. The helicopters are out of ammo and returning to base to resupply. The tanks have not moved an inch because they have not. The 30-minute orders delay is still in effect, so they have not. They're still preparing to move. Running to conclusion. From this point forward, you have enough of the base tutorial out until the time limit hits or until one side forces fall below 30% of its total unit value on map units and triggers the sudden death threshold. When sudden death triggers, you will get a dialog box with a breakdown of what happens to the victory point locations on the map based on the strength, readiness, and proximity of forces based on the time remaining. If you don't like the result and wish to grind the fight out to the bitter end, there is a button that will allow you to continue playing until the time limit expires or until you choose to end the game. In the case of the battle just fought, went to sudden death on Soviet losses very late in the next turn. Here, We can also end the game now by selecting File, End Game Now. In this case, you'll be presented with both the victory location ownership determination and the Tactical Operations Center will show the remaining forces for both sides. The winner will be the side that outperformed the expectations of the command staff. Controlling objectives, killing enemy units, and preserving your forces will go a long way to winning battles. The Staff Summary tab will show you the final score, evaluation of performance, and also losses to units. At the bottom left of the Tactical Operations Center, there is a checkbox for viewing the enemy Tactical Operations Center pages. You can now see the details of the enemy's force. There is no guarantee that your battle will follow the same timing or outcome as this video or the quick start tutorial. The AI is very dynamic and has a habit of surprising you. This time, the Soviets went with the northern approach. Next time, it might be the south. You may even get hit from both. The weather can change and alter visibility. If something does go wrong, like helicopters coming out of the fog and mauling your armored personnel carriers, replay the game with a different plan and tactics. The idea is to learn and have fun playing the game